and welcome back to the Cozy Arts, and welcome back to another crochet class. We're going to be making a box. In this class you'll learn how to work flat, so we'll be making squares and rectangles, and we're also going to learn foundation stitches. Today we will learn the Foundation Single Crochet. It's just a great way to start a flat piece. When I start blankets with chains and you have to do 100 chains, it always ends out really twisted. I cannot work in chains and keep them sorted. It's hard to count and it's hard to keep it straight, and I just don't like working in chains. That's why we're learning the foundation stitch. If you really want to make this box and you try but you just can't master the foundation single crochet stitch, that is okay. You can always do it in chains instead, and there'll still be tips on how to turn your piece and how to count and just basically how to keep it nice and straight. So there might still be value for you, but I really want you to try to nail this because it will make your life better. It will make your crochet better, and it's just good. Plus, if you are also doing my pattern for the strawberry heart, you're gonna need to know how to do the foundation stitch. Spoilers. So in this class, we're learning how to make the box. We're learning how to make the sides. We're learning how to stitch them together. We're making the box today. But if you follow the link in the description to my Etsy shop, you can also get the pattern to make, ta-da! This little chocolate covered strawberry, which comes out of its chocolate. And it's got a cute little face and adorable little leaves. Look at these leaves. Spoilers, this is what we use the foundation stitch for. And I also love that it's a heart. This pattern is just a little more advanced than my crochet patterns have been, and that's why this is not part of the class, but I do have videos explaining how to do the harder steps in this piece linked in the pattern. So if you get the pattern, I'm still going to help you figure out how to make it. Don't worry about that. But if you want to make this box for anything else, it'd be really good to have what you want to put inside of the box on hand so that you can adjust your pieces accordingly. If you need it to be wider, then you're going to add more stitches. If you need it to be longer, then you're going to add more rows. You can adjust this to make it fit your project. And then I think this would be really cute tied off with a little bow when you're done. So you can make a little box to put in a little present, or even just to keep doodads out of sight. So today we're making a box. As far as yarn goes, I pretty much always work with cotton yarn, and it's mostly Lily Sugar and Cream. I have gotten the loops and thread cotton yarn, and that's actually what this chocolate is made out of. I think it's a little bit softer and maybe a little bit less prone to splitting, so I like that a lot. But you don't have to use the same yarn that I'm using. The only thing that I would do is I would keep in mind every yarn should have written on the label the suggested hook size for it. So if you are using a yarn that has a range of hook sizes, I'd go with a smaller hook size just to keep your stitches nice and tight. But other than that, you don't have to use the same kind of yarn that I'm using. I really only use cotton because I like the way it feels, but it also makes a nice and sturdy piece for amigurumi. Okay, let's get into it. To make the foundation single crochet, we're going to begin with a slip knot. I like to make my slip knots the same way that I begin my magic ring. So we're going to take the yarn and wrap it around 2 fingers, and we're going to keep it parallel on the back side and then cross on the top. So we're making an X. I'm going to take my hook. I'm going to go underneath this bar and over this bar, and I'm going to just twist around so I have the yarn under the hook. I'm going to pull it through this hole right here. And now for the slip knot, I'm just going to take my fingers out and tighten up. There's my slip knot. Now we are going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to skip this first chain here, work into this next chain. So the first chain that you make, just going to put your hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through. Now to make the foundation, we're going to yarn over, pull through again, so that makes the foundation, then yarn over, pull through to make the single crochet. So on the bottom of the stitch that we just made, we've got a front loop and a back loop. We've got a beautiful little V right here, and that is what we are going to be making our next stitch into. So I'm going to take my hook and go underneath the V that I just made, yarn over, pull through, and now I'm going to make another foundation underneath it. So yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to finish the stitch, yarn over, pull through. So now we are moving in. Now once again, we go underneath our last V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that just makes the foundation, and then we finish the stitch. And we're going to keep doing that until we have the right number of stitches. I want to have 20 stitches altogether, so I'm going to keep going until I get to 20. You're going to want to keep this a little bit loose just to make sure that you have room to get your hook in there. And once you have your stitches, you're going to want to go through and count to make sure that you have the right number. And when you are counting stitches, you're really counting the V's on top. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 V's. If you notice, mine is pretty curly looking, but it will straighten out as you keep going. So it's fine if yours is curly at this stage. It will not stay curly. Now we have our first row finished, so we need to chain 1 and turn to move on to the next row. So we yarn over, pull through, and then we're just going to turn it by taking our work and whoop, flipping it like that. So not a big massive turn. You'll just get like funky looking ends, which for this project it's fine, we're going to cover our ends up, but just one small turn from doop, doop, like you're turning the page of a book. And now we're going to do just single crochet. So this is our chain where we turned, and then this V right here, this is our first stitch. Put our hook underneath the V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. And that is our first single crochet. We're going to carry on, and we're going to do that all the way down. So we should have 20 stitches in this row because we had 20 stitches in the last row. And you just want to make sure, at least for the, especially for the first couple of rows, you want to make sure that you are counting. When I first started crocheting, I know that I really struggled with keeping my rectangles the consistent size because I would get a little confused about where my hook needed to go, like what counted as a stitch that I should be stitching in and what did not. One of the easiest ways to make sure that you are staying on track and that you are putting stitches everywhere stitches need to be and only where stitches need to be is counting. And then this is the first stitch, and it looks a little bit funky. It will all even out in the end. I'll put my final stitch there, and then I will just double check and make sure that I still have 20 stitches. So this little piece right here where we did our chain and turn, this does not count as a stitch, but this V right here, this counts as a stitch. So we don't count this loop that's left over from our chain, but we do count this V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Perfect. So now I am once again ready to chain and turn. So we're gonna turn around. When I reach the end of my row, then I chain one and I turn my work around. And keep going. Now we're back to the end of the row, and once again, you're going to want to count your stitches to verify that you have the correct number, but here we have the loop that's left over from our chain and turn, and then we have the stitch, and we do not stitch into the loop, but we do stitch into this V here. Now carry on until this piece is the size that you need. I have my piece square, and I can check that it's square by just folding these corners to meet each other, and then this should end in a point. If it were not square, then we'd have a little extra fabric here. But because this is the second of the pieces that I've made, I am also going to double check that it is the same size as my other piece. So I'm gonna hold them together, and so I'm ready to just snip this and pull this. It doesn't need to be super long because we're just going to be crocheting over it and covering it up. I'm going to snip these a little bit shorter while we're at it. So now I've got my two top pieces. We've got our two bottom pieces, and I was playing yarn chicken and I ran out of yarn for this last row. It is just noticeable enough to be noticeable, so this is going to go inside of my box. But I've got my two bottom pieces, and then these are the rectangular sides, and I didn't really want to start 8 pieces, so I just made 4 longer ones, and I made them so that they're long enough that we can fold them over and they'll be tall enough for our sides. So we've got 4 matching sides, and then the top sides a little bit smaller. We've got these guys right here. So now we want to make sure that our box is nice and stiff. So I think I might leave off the cardboard for these top pieces because they're so small. I don't know that it'll make much of a difference, and if they don't have any cardboard in them, they'll probably be a little more flexible to get them over the box. But we are going to need cardboard for the top and the bottom and the bottom sides. But I don't need this to be super thick cardboard. It doesn't need to be super stiff. If you want to make sure that it can get wet for any reason, I would go with a plastic. So I traced out my sides. We're going to then fold this in half. Fold it in half and cut it. Oh, that looks a little wonky. I'm going to trim that down. If you have this overhang, just trim it down. It doesn't have to be exactly the size. It'd be in the way if it was exactly the size. So it can be a little bit smaller. I have my hook under the 2 V's. We're starting in the corner of our piece. And I'm going to take my yarn and just fold it over the hook and pull it through. And I'm going to yarn over with both of these. Pull that through, and then I'm going to pull it all the way through until this is loose, and then tighten it back up. So we've got this. And if I want to deal with that right now, I can just pull that over to this side. So now I am working. As I'm working, I can make sure that this is sandwiched all the time. Right now the 2 V's are on top of my hook and the tail is on top of my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull that through, and then I'm going to make sure that all of my yarn is now on top of the V's and the tail. Yarn over, pull it through. So this is just a single crochet, but I'm going underneath the top stitches and also underneath the tail. So I'm working that in. Now we're getting into the corner and it's a little bit messy. So what we want to do is we want to do like an increase stitch. So I am going to make sure that my corner has 3 single crochets to get me around the corner. No! And my yarn is splitting, so I'm gonna just try to rein it in a little bit. Ooh, this yarn has a knot. Okay, so now we should be on the other side. And here we no longer have our beautiful V's on the top of our stitches. We're working in the sides of the yarn, so we don't really have anything good to grab onto, so we're just going to go under that last bar. And you can fit about 2 stitches per bar, then move to the next one. And then here we're working around the chain 1 and turn. So that one can hold about 1 stitch on either side. So you're just going to want to make sure that your stitches stay evenly spaced, but don't worry about them not being perfect. Oh yeah, because some of these I can get 2 in, and some of them I can only get 1 in. That's fine. Once we get this a little bit more closed up, then we will tuck in our cardboard. But now I'm just going to continue working around this, and then I'll do the bottom one, and then I'll come back for the sides. So now I have my 4 sides, and I've got my bottom piece. I'm going to want to line these up so that the fold part is on the top, and where we've already made that extra row of stitching is on the bottom. So we can connect these all right here. You can sew these together, or we can try and crochet them together. If I haven't cut this out of the video, it was not a mistake, and that's what we're doing. So I'm going to begin by taking 2 of my side pieces. For this one, we're going to just take the loop furthest from us and then the loop closest to us. We're doing the back loop and the front loop. So basically these middle loops right here that are touching each other, we're just going to put our hook under those, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. We're doing single crochets. We're just going to get the sides together, and then we'll do the bottom. So we'll move on and we'll do the same thing here. So we have the fold on the top. We're going to work down so we can hide our yarn. So now we have our sides together. I'm not going to cut my yarn yet because I'm going to grab the bottom, and because because I have this little bit of discolored yarn, I'm going to tuck it inside. And I'm just going to, I think I can squeeze in 1 more stitch into this bottom corner here. And now I'm going to, I think I'll cut this little bit of extra yarn because it's not quite enough to weave in. I don't know where my little scissors went. They'll come back to me. But now I'm going to just line up a corner on my corner. I'll do the same exact thing. It's just going to be a little more awkward because we're really working in 3D here. So I'm going to get into this middle stitch, and now, ooh, how do I do it? I gotta go this way. Okay, gotta remember how crochet works, and I move this way. In the middle. I'm just going to work this all the way around. Now we're coming to our corner, and we have this end left over from before. I have managed to weave my hair in as usual. So we're just going to lay it on top, and we'll make sure that we sandwich that in as we go. Now I'm going to put this yarn on top so that I make sure that it stays in the middle. I'm going to go through our back and front loop, and this is on top of the hook, yarn over, pull it through, and now I'm going to yarn over, and this should be underneath the hook, so it's in the middle. Yarn over, pull through, and that way we just sandwich it as we go along. It saves a lot of time, so you don't have so many ends to weave in, because weaving in ends is my least favorite part. I hate doing it. So I'm going to try to not need to do it. And then we'll take our tapestry needle and sew this in, but we have a box. And now I need to do the same thing with this top. Because this is sandwiched, it's going to be hidden no matter what, as long as it just gets under here. So instead of getting my tapestry needle and weaving it in, I am just going to get it. I'm gonna go get it. You can't hide from me. I'm coming for ya. And same thing with this like little bit of extra tail that didn't get fully covered. We just pull it under. Now we're gonna grab this and pull it under. I gotcha. And you could just snip it here, but that's still a little short. So I'm gonna pull it under some more. He's still in the frame. Pull you under more. And now it is hidden inside of our box. Da, 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 da. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have a wonderful time crocheting. And if you make a box, let me know what you're going to put in it. I'll see you next time. Keep it cozy. Bye!